There we go. Right, I just need to remind everybody that this session will be recorded. And I'm also trying to do something clever with the chat, but that's not working, but never mind. Can I just welcome Michelle and Jenny from PAMIS to this breakout session today. I'm really excited to see you because I haven't seen you both for a very long time, so it's lovely to see you. I'm also incredibly excited that you're here to tell us about the launch of the National Postural Care Strategy, which, as I'm sure Michelle and Jenny will go on to talk about, was a very collaborative process across many different organisations, areas and sectors. And we're very sorry that we don't have the National Lead for Children and Young People, AHP Lead for Children and Young People here today, but she's here with us in spirit, Pauline Burns. So it's very nice to have Jenny and Michelle both from PAMIS. And I'm going to hand over to you, and we look forward to hearing all about the National Postural Care Strategy. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. I'm also very conscious that we're in a breakout room that might throw us out after 45 minutes. So hopefully we are able to finish on time and give everybody a chance to ask us some questions.
My job is to keep reminding you of this, I'm afraid. So apologies. I will shut up and go away now and go into speak with you like I've told everybody else to do. So I will now follow my own instructions.
Oh, thanks, Stephanie. So hello, and thank you all for coming along to hear Jenny and I this morning. And thanks to Stephanie for inviting us to the Cerebral Palsy Scotland conference to talk about Your Posture Matters, which is the National Postural Care Strategy for Scotland. I'm Michelle Morrison, and I'm a Family Support Service Director with PAMIS. PAMIS is the only organisation in Scotland solely supporting people with profound and multiple learning disabilities. And all the families we support, they will experience difficulties with their movement and are at risk of developing changes to their bodies. And we've been involved in developing our services to support the education of families and the development and delivery of the National Postural Care Strategy, Your Posture Matters, more of which Jenny and I will talk through this morning. I'm also the co-chair of the Scottish Postural Care Forum and its predecessor, the National Postural Care Strategy Group, alongside Pauline Byrne. And as Stephanie said, Pauline's unable to be here today, but her role has been really pivotal as the National Lead Allied Health Professional for Children and Young People with the Scottish Government, and also with the NHS Education for Scotland Women and Children's team as the principal educator, but sadly she is unable to be with us today. However, we are very fortunate to have Jenny Whinnett here today. Jenny, can you introduce yourself, please?
Thanks. Yes, I'm Jenny Whinnett. I'm a family carer, and I'm also the PAMIS Vice Chair on the Board of Governors. I'm also a shared lives carer looking after a young man with profound and multiple learning disabilities in my home. I've been involved with PAMIS virtually from its inception, and I'm delighted to be here to support Michelle. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. In presenting Your Posture Matters to you today, we'd like to look at why we need a strategy in the first place. So the implication on the body shape of someone with movement difficulties if the right postural support is not in place. The benefit to this guidance and working in collaboration with different people, bringing different skills, knowledge and experience. And Jenny will take you through what this looked like for some PAMIS families that we have been working alongside. And finally, look at what Your Posture Matters hopes to achieve for people living in Scotland with a movement difficulty. So firstly, we just want to kind of take you back to think about what posture is all about and why this is so important. So posture is the shape our bodies form when sitting, lying, moving and standing. People living without a movement difficulty are able to get up and move around and change position whenever they feel they need to. But if you have a movement difficulty, it can be more difficult to freely adjust your position, and that can lead to a detrimental change to your body shape. Here in these x-rays, we see the change in body shape to a young man called Fred over a 20-year period. Fred lived at a time when knowledge around postural support was limited and distortion to body shape was expected. In the first x-ray, we see a relatively ordinary shape of Fred's chest, age 3. Then we see x-rays again at age 10, 17, 21, and finally 23 years old. By the time we see Fred age 17, there is a distinct change in his chest shape, and we see a curvature in his spine, and his chest and hip are almost touching each other. With this level of change in his body, Fred was experiencing pain and difficulty with eating and drinking. By 20, this change in his chest shape has become even more pronounced, with Fred now unable to eat orally, requiring a gastrostomy tube to be fitted. This procedure became difficult due to the uncertainty around where Fred's stomach was located. And as you can see from the x-ray, it has become more difficult to identify his internal organs. And we can see that the side where his chest and hip meet, they're squashing his lung. By this stage, he was finding it more difficult to be able to sit, having to spend increasing time lying in his bed. By age 23, it has become almost impossible to identify any of his internal organs, as his body shape has changed so significantly. And sadly, Fred died not long after this x-ray was taken. It had become increasingly difficult for him to breathe well, and he suffered from repeated chest infections. And learning from Fred and sadly many other people facing similar body shape changes, we know that there is impact on physical well-being. So Fred found it more difficult to breathe, eat, drink, and communicate. It impacts on psychological well-being. He was living with increasing pain and increasing isolation as his communication needs changed, and changes in social opportunity. So he was finding it more difficult to sit, and it meant that Fred's life was limited to his bed, no longer able to get out, meet other people, and be part of his community. While there is a greater understanding now that the body shape of people with movement difficulties is more recognised, services and experiences differ across the country. We needed a strategy that could help shape information and education across the health and social care workforce, people living with a movement difficulty and their carers, to reduce the incidences of body shape deterioration. But body shape changes can happen for a number of reasons, and many people across Scotland are at risk. For some people, changes will be mild and go unnoticed, but for many people affected by these diagnoses, they will develop movement difficulties, which, if not addressed, will have a detrimental impact on their posture and shape of their body. This will lead to problems with respiratory function, eating and drinking, digestion, pain, limited mobility, and potentially increased hospital admissions, increased surgical interventions, and ultimately premature death. The mortality rates from a recent study carried out by the Scottish Learning Disability Observatory in children and young people with additional support needs recorded that the occurrence of respiratory-related deaths was 55 times higher in children and young people with additional support needs than their peers. A similar study looked at mortality rates in adults with a learning disability, returning similar figures, both of which highlight significant health inequalities. While we aren't saying postural care could have prevented these deaths, we do know that good postural care can aid good respiratory function, reducing the occurrence of chest infections in many instances. This image from Simple Stuff Works, a leading educational provider, highlights just how difficult a position some people experience due to the lack of postural supports. They are real people, all of whom have postural care needs, and were supported by caregivers who didn't know there was anything they could do to stop these changes from happening. Our strategy, Your Posture Matters, aims to encourage better partnership working alongside increased information and education to stop the incidence of body shape changes like this from happening. Your Posture Matters needed to make sure it reflected real life people, and it opens with Jenny sharing her hopes for looking back and moving forward. She's going to share her story with you all now.
Thank you. Delighted to give you my son's story. 32 years ago, our family changed forever when Craig came into our lives and heart. Most parents say this on the birth of their first child, but my life changed completely when my fourth son joined our family. Craig touched us all from the start. He met every challenge with his beautiful smile, and over the years of his life, there were so many challenges for him to take on. Major surgery for a fundoplication or stomach wrap, and then for it to be repaired, a gastrostomy to be fitted, and then in his teens, a baclofen implant was inserted into his abdomen to help his muscle tone. In between the surgeries, he endured several serious bouts of pneumonia, unsettled seizure control, and a period of poor mental well-being. He fought his way back from each illness with his unshakable love of life and people. We were exhausted, but Craig revived us with his beautiful smile and obvious enjoyment in everything he participated in life. During his early childhood, he loved his kindergarten, sharing time with the children in the village. His wonderful school days, interspersed with visits to Badaguish, a special holiday respite centre for children with disabilities up in the Cairngorms. Family events were very important to Craig's well-being, and family time very precious to him. He enjoyed activities such as biking, outings to the cinema, tenpin bowling, and family parties. He loved trips with his dad and brother Matty to support Liverpool. Also, the family trip to the States to participate in his brother Mike's wedding, saying his vows along with his brother. Amy had 2 husbands for a while. But there was a deepening cloud on Craig's horizon that crept up and prevented him from continuing the life he so enjoyed due to the result of his deteriorating body shape, rotated hips, and severe scoliosis, as you can see on this slide. During his life, great emphasis was put into Craig being correctly seated, supported into standing frames, and careful physiotherapy. And I duly followed all the instructions for his therapies and positioning as guided by his dedicated therapists. But nothing was advised for his sleeping position. A third of his life was quite appropriately spent in bed, sleeping. I requested and was given a special care bed in his teens, but there was little advice about his sleeping or resting position. Funding for sleep systems was not available, and in his early life, I was not aware of any to examine. I became conscious of Craig's deteriorating body shape over his childhood. A surgeon intimated during his early teens that his poor body shape would shorten his life, but there was no advice from him to improve this prognosis. Craig was examined by a senior orthopedic consultant with a view to spinal surgery to correct his scoliosis. But sadly, by the time this consultation took place, Craig's body shape was too poor for surgery to go ahead. This was devastating news to us as a family, so we concentrated on giving Craig as full a life as possible. When Craig was 17, I discovered information on the sleep system and on protecting body shape. It was so important to us to help and improve Craig's shape as much as we could. We purchased a sleep system ourselves, as there was still no funding available, and then booked a training workshop through Postural Care Skills, the leading organisation at that time offering training to families in protection of body shape, so that Craig's carers and I could be given the knowledge to support Craig's posture. Craig accompanied us and really enjoyed all the attention and joined in the workshop with great interest and amusement, and helped us to see clearly the best fitting of the sleep system, as you can see with the displayed improved oxygen levels. Over the last 2 years of his life, Craig had the support of a respiratory consultant who informed us that his respiratory function had become seriously impaired and he had respiratory failure due to his poor body shape. However, he gave Craig all the support he could. Craig received oxygen therapy in the home and latterly was supported by a CPAP non-invasive ventilator at night to aid his breathing. Sadly, during the summer of 2008, Craig became seriously ill, suffering great pain, and it became evident that the only support that could now be given was palliative care. We were able to take him home from hospital, and he was cared for to the end of his life by me and those that loved him, passing away in my arms. The sleep system helped him to enjoy added time with a good quality of life, coupled with the effort of the professionals in his life and the love of his family. But Craig should not have had to live with such a poor body shape that it impacted on his quality of life and expectancy to such a degree. He would want a person's body shape to be far better protected by the professionals involved with them from the time of diagnosis and continuing throughout the individual's life, so that they will enjoy a healthier life than he did due to his severe scoliosis. Shortly after Craig's death, I was invited to participate in a focus group that Postural Care Skills and John and Liz Goldsmith had initiated. Through its membership, it became a national group, and I represented Scotland as a parent and a member of PAMIS. The purpose of the focus group was to promote and develop the accreditation of training in postural care and share what is being taken forward in postural care across the UK. Early in the life of the group, I was very moved when asked if an important document that the group had put together could be named after my son. Protecting Body Shape, Craig's Consensus for a Main Street Future. This inclusive document contains the mission statement, and I'm immensely proud of this document in Craig's name. Your Posture Matters, Postural Care Strategy for Scotland, carries my ongoing hopes for the future of postural care in Scotland. It is the culmination of professionals, family carers and patients working together to set down the principles of protecting body shape and postural care training across Scotland. I believe the strategy embodies all the hopes that I had 12 years ago when the mission statement was made. I believe the strategy highlights the importance of families and professionals to receive training in postural care so that they are able to recognise and act on the causes of body distortion, or if the body distortion is already visible or a possibility, because it is so important to prevent distortion of body shape if possible. I sincerely hope we never see anyone with Craig's distorted body shape and a probable shortened life expectancy. Now this strategy is a reality. Postural care training should be universally consistent in its content across Scotland and available to all who are diagnosed with body shape issues, their families, carers, and support, because it is important the individual is at the centre and that everyone involved with that individual is knowledgeable in 24-hour postural care and how to protect that individual's body shape. I hope that across Scotland, family carers and professionals will learn together and become trainers together, as I did at Postural Care Skills all those years ago, as this recognises the skills of family carers and promotes mutual understanding in the importance of this learning and how vital it is to work in partnership in protecting body shape. If the strategy truly rolls this training out across Scotland, Craig's legacy and his life will have had significant value to many.
Thanks, Jenny. And while Jenny and Craig's story is difficult to hear, it helped form the basis of Your Posture Matters, that people living with movement difficulties needed to be at the centre, and their story was one of the driving forces that brought people across Scotland together to create the Postural Care Strategy for Scotland. Several years ago, on a cold, bleak day in Edinburgh, a number of people with different backgrounds and experiences came together around a table and committed to working together to influence practice and services, bringing about the end of body shape deterioration. The focus of that group was to listen to each other, learn where things were working, where they weren't, and what needed to change, true collaboration was possible and would lead us to a strategy that was inclusive, identifying the challenges and solutions for reducing body shape deterioration across Scotland. And that group has grown in membership, starting off with around 30 people from a whole range of backgrounds across Scotland. And now we have over 50 people who are all working together to try and make this strategy a reality. It took several years of listening and taking our thoughts to others across the country, but the ambitions and recommendations we developed for Your Posture Matters reflects the hopes and dreams of physiotherapists, occupational therapists, third sector organisations, including Cerebral Palsy Scotland, people working in care homes, with people with long-term conditions, children and young people, people with a learning disability, but most importantly, people living with movement difficulties and their family carers. Jenny is now going to share the valuable contribution PAMIS family carers brought to Your Posture Matters, sharing their knowledge and experience to shape the strategy.
PAMIS was granted self-management funding from the Health and Social Care Alliance because the importance of 24-hour postural care was recognised for anyone with body shape issues, and professionals, family carers and people who need postural care saw the need for a postural care strategy for Scotland. However, family carers wanted to have a real role in creating the strategy, but recognised they needed support to do that. They also wished to continue to build their skills and knowledge in postural care and in delivering training to family carers and professionals using a buddying system and begin delivering postural care education courses. Family carer colleagues needed to gain the confidence, skills and knowledge to deliver training in postural care, and they were to show that they can be seen as equal partners in gaining and sharing knowledge and experiences. We were to be supported to be involved in the design and delivery of the postural care strategy and training framework, and to contribute to raising awareness of postural care across Scotland. We were to represent people with PMLD within the strategy and contribute to best practice. PAMIS set up a family carer advisory group where 5 of us met regularly over 6 meetings to share our ideas and wishes to be included in the National Postural Care Strategy, both the learning framework and the resources. 3 family carers are members of the National Postural Care Strategy Group to represent the Family Carer Advisory Group. There were consultation sessions to add to the content and the outcomes of the national strategy, and 11 families have made contributions featured within it. These contributions are family carers sharing their stories and experiences. They have given quotes which are included. One of my family carer colleagues designed the logo, and of course there are lots of lovely photos of our young people and their families within the document. But most importantly, our experiences are acknowledged by being included. The document was finally launched in the middle of the pandemic on the 3rd of June this year, with PAMIS family carers very much involved with the online publicity. PAMIS has worked consistently for over 15 years to have postural care training available in Scotland for family carers, people with postural care needs and professionals. The training has been led by my PAMIS colleague, Michelle Morrison, speaking alongside me here today, a senior physiotherapist, Elizabeth Duff, and family carers, Marion McCardle, Emma Powley, Carolyn Hunter, and myself. The start of PAMIS involvement was due to my family experiences with my son Craig, and describing that when I gained training in 24-hour postural care shortly before my son Craig died, it was a light bulb moment for me. I realised that all family carers supporting people with body shape issues needed the information and training I had been given on how to protect body shape and to be empowered to work co-productively with their allied professionals. I also believe the success of the training was professionals and family carers to be trained together as I had experienced. PAMIS, led by Michelle, worked to promote this training to family carers and professionals and empowered family carers as postural care champions. Following accredited training in postural care, senior physiotherapist Elizabeth Duff and I completed the training to be a trainer. And through PAMIS, we held accredited training workshops for family carers and professionals. The pandemic could have floored PAMIS from further training, but family carers are made of sterner stuff. We continued our activities after setting up the Family Carer Strategy Group and created our Family Carer Zoom forum to look at the delivery and design of the postural care training to be delivered by Zoom. The creating of our online Zoom postural care course was an enormous amount of work because we had to create new materials and films to replace our group work. There was also the task of asking participants to take on homework. Our course was designed with a week-by-week program with links to other useful material. As a family carer, I am proud of the courses we've now created to be delivered by Zoom. We have held several 3-hour, 1-day over 4-week courses for family carers and professionals. We have also had several student nurses and allied health professional students complete the course. Each session of a 4-week course, there is a family carer trainer supporting Elizabeth, our physiotherapist training colleague, sharing our family experiences and skills as part of the postural care training. We evaluate after every session and at the end of the course to hone our skills in achieving the best practice. And although there are many advantages to face-to-face learning, we are finding that we reach out to families that otherwise could not attend our teaching, such as families living on the islands.
Thanks, Jenny. These PAMIS family carers' voices, alongside people with movement difficulties, other family carers and practitioners, has been integral to the development of Your Posture Matters. However, without the support from Scottish Government's Chief Allied Health Professional and NHS Education for Scotland Women and Children's team, the strategy would never have come to fruition. Scottish Government committed to the delivery of a postural care strategy through their Active and Independent Living programme, a framework for health professionals to work in partnership with people in Scotland to help them live healthy, active and independent lives. NHS Education for Scotland Women and Children's team have funded the development and publication of Your Posture Matters and continues funding the initial priorities and educational developments from the ambitions and recommendations. So here's a short animation to tell you what it's all about. The document itself supports recommendations, outcomes and guidance across different Scottish policy, including children and young people, people going through recovery, living with a learning disability, experience in rehabilitation, as well as guidance for practitioners. And it's also now starting to influence other policy development that's coming out through Scottish Government as well, including the ongoing consultation around the provision of equipment and adaptations. As we've already mentioned, it includes people's experiences, and that's been a key aspect of the development of Your Posture Matters. Sharing personal stories of individuals with postural care needs and their families has been instrumental in the development of this strategy, and both they and their therapists highlight the strong need for a much wider understanding of postural care and a Scotland-wide approach to meeting those needs. We have stories from people living with cerebral palsy, metastatic breast cancer, cardiopulmonary disease, and profound and multiple learning disabilities, among others, and practice examples of where things are going well, such as Fife's measuring and screening model used to capture any changes to people's body shape. Your Posture Matters has 3 ambitions, helping achieve a better outcome for people with movement difficulties. We were clear that we wanted everyone at risk of body shape deterioration to be empowered to self-manage their posture by being an equal partner in their care through a high-quality postural care service, which encompasses education, information and support. Information and education are 2 key areas for us to address and are consistently recurring themes throughout Your Posture Matters. And that's why Jenny talked about PAMIS's postural care education and what we're doing to support that development, and is also why we have developed a learning framework to run alongside the strategy, because information and education are key in being able to move forward and make changes. But we also realise that it's not just people with movement difficulties and their family carers who may not know about postural care, but that this was a wider issue. So in our ambition too, we wanted to make sure that protecting body shape would become an integral part of daily life, that it would be everybody's business. And issues around equipment were recurring, with provision variable across Scotland. So we needed an ambition that reflected this. Equipment has the potential to protect, preserve and improve someone's positioning. Their age, the reason why they have a movement difficulty, and geographical location should not be a barrier to accessing the right equipment to protect their posture. This strategy features 3 bold ambitions and 14 challenging recommendations, but together they can support an end to destructive and life-threatening body shape deterioration and a shift towards a more knowledgeable community able to implement, monitor and develop better body shape detection for everyone. Across Scotland, there are many examples of good postural care practice and specialist services with knowledgeable practitioners, some of which feature within the strategy. However, there is also a clear lack of consistency and equity in service provision, information, resources, education and equipment provision, and we hope this strategy will help address this. Body shape distortion is an issue which is prevalent across the lifespan, with the potential to affect individuals from birth to death. Due to the many and varied causes of movement difficulties, these risks of body shape deterioration could happen to anyone at any time. The strategy group firmly believes protecting body shape is everyone's business. We hope this strategy is the catalyst that drives service change and public awareness across Scotland, collectively minimising body shape distortion for all individuals with a movement difficulty. And as Jenny mentioned, the document is now live and we're really excited that it's eventually out there. And we had our launch day back in June, as Jenny also said, in the middle of a pandemic, so that was all very different. But lots of people got involved and shared their stories through film, photos, press releases and blogs, and they're all now available on the web page that holds the strategy itself. And looking at some of the early analytics in the launch month, the web page that holds the document had over 3,000 views. And even by the time we got to September, it was still seeing activity with over 200 views. Now that lets us know that there is so much work needs to be done, that we've had that drop off. And so we need to do more to raise that public awareness and get people looking at the strategy and recognising what it's all about. But creating the strategy is just the beginning of this long journey forward. We've now established both the Scottish Postural Care Forum and the Scottish Postural Care Education Forum, and they have very strong memberships, including Cerebral Palsy Scotland, and we are now looking at priorities to take our work forward. But the group membership is currently looking for more people with a movement difficulty, so if you or anyone you know might be interested, please do get in touch. Among our first priorities is to run a public awareness campaign and create a digital platform to hold information and is easily accessible. And we hope that both of these will be well underway by the new year. And lastly, we need to keep letting people know that Your Posture Matters exists, and we need your help to do that. So please go out and tell others all about it and help us make sure that it does become everyone's business. Now, currently, Your Posture Matters is only available online, and it might be difficult to find because it's held within an NHS Education for Scotland page. So here is some information that might help you get onto that webpage, and you might find that the easiest thing to do is to go into your search engine and just put in the words Your Posture Matters, and then the first link that comes up will be that www.learn.nes link, and that will take you to the page that holds the strategy, the learning framework, and lots of resources. There's also an executive summary there, so if you just want to have a quick look at what it's all about, you can do that through the executive summary. And we're also in the process of creating an easy read leaflet that will sit on that page as well. And that's all that Jenny and I have to share with you today. And many thanks for taking the time to listen to both of us. It's been a great opportunity for us to work in developing this strategy alongside lots of partners across Scotland. And we welcome any questions that you might have, but we absolutely ask you to help us spread the word to help end body shape distortion of people with movement difficulties. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle and Jenny. I have heard Craig's story now. You've shared it with us before, and every time I hear it, it's very difficult to hear. But I think this is a wonderful example, full enough, of what Professor Watson was talking about earlier, about how, you know, truly co-produced and collaborative work across, you know, the fact that it's been championed by a third sector organisation, like a wonderful third sector organisation like PAMIS, but it's had the support of Scottish Government, NHS, Education for Scotland, you know, all those kind of buy-ins, has led to something really quite exciting. And I think the other thing is that it's, you know, your point about listening to people, to families, to carers, and making sure that that's at the heart of what, you know, you're empowering people to have the knowledge that they need to have. And I think that's what's so exciting about this, let alone the fact of what you might influence in the future. So I mean, we've played a very small part in this, but we do have copies of the strategy in the centre. So you can also pick up a copy of the National Postural Care Strategy if you are visiting our centre. Now, I am looking to see, because we've got 4 minutes before we're going to be chucked out of this room, I'm looking to see if anybody has any questions. I know that people have wanted me to thank you for an amazing presentation and for such amazing work. Lindsay Lenny has asked, what companies do you tend to use for sleep systems? I don't know whether you have a view on that, but you may want to comment about sleep systems.
Yeah, Jenny, will I start off and then pass over
Yeah.
to yourself? Would that be best? Yeah, so we don't advocate any particular sleep system, and as a third sector organisation ourselves, we don't do any assessments around body shape and potential equipment. And we do work alongside Simple Stuff Works as an educational partner to deliver the training that Jenny leads on. But Jenny has personal experience of using sleep systems, both with her son Craig and now also with Liam. So I'm going to pass you over to Jenny, who'll maybe just kind of give that kind of personal side of things.
Yeah, there are quite a number out there, and to be honest, it should be between the person's professional therapists and the family carer or lead carer to decide which system best meets that person's need. For instance, with Liam, I actually have a mixture of 2 systems to get the best possible shape and support for him. So, you know, it's not a case of recommendation at all. It's about what is best for the individual.
Thank you. I have just, by the way, shared the link on the chat to the online site, Michelle, that you mentioned.
Oh, great. Thanks.
I put it in the search engine and I got to the NES link, so that's in the chat.
Great,
the other thing that people are asking about is how do people access the training you were talking about?
Michelle, do you want
to? and actually, just in case we get chucked out because we've only got 2 minutes left, is it free for carers?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so firstly, at the moment, we still have Alliance funding, so that's great. That's the Health and Social Care Alliance, and that supports us being able to deliver free postural care education to carers. So you just need to get in touch with PAMIS if you want to get involved in that, and we will be running, I think we've got another 5 sessions that are going to be going out across 2022 and into 2023. At the moment, we are not currently delivering education sessions out with family carers, but that is something that we are very much looking at, because we recognise that there is a real need across the workforce in particular, to increase that knowledge. And there are other bits of training going on across Scotland just now as well. So you've got different physiotherapy departments who tend to be the lead deliverer of training, and they will try and prioritise in their area who they feel needs to hear about postural care. So it might be worth getting in touch with your local physio team as well, whether it's children and young people, learning disability services, or physios working in long-term conditions, because they might well be delivering locally. But we are trying to pull all of that together so that on the digital platform, you'll be able to go in and find out who's got training running and where, how much does it cost, and how to access it. Jenny, do you have anything else to add to that?
Perfect.
Can I just make it clear that this is not a CP specific initiative. This is for anybody with a movement.
Yes.
And it's also not just about children. It's about anybody lifelong. So just to make that very clear, you don't need a diagnosis of a particular condition.
Oh, that's right. Thank you very much, Stephanie, just for emphasising that. Yep, across the lifespan and for any reason at all, recovering from stroke towards the end of life care, anything at all that impacts your ability to move around potentially has an impact on the shape of your body, and you would benefit from undergoing education around that.
Yeah.
Now, we are in the final, so I hate the countdown seconds in these breakouts because it doesn't give us much time, but we are about to all be chucked off here and be welcomed back to the main session at 12:15 is the next breakout sessions. Jenny and Michelle, thank you so much for this. This is such important work. It's been amazing to have you as part of today, and we look forward to seeing what else happens. Goodbye, everybody. See you in the next session.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.